Thinking about it. Thanks for joining us this evening for our live interview from Cornwall Film Festival. We're just going to give people a moment to find the stream and make sure it's working. So if you're watching, do give us a like and a comment and say where you're watching from. And we hope you're having a lovely evening this evening. If you haven't already, why not give the Cornwall Film Festival Facebook page a like and make sure you turn on notifications to find out about everything that's coming on. And don't forget to check out all our previous videos. You can do that by going down to the video section on the page. So we're getting some people saying they're watching. Do let us know where you're watching from. And in which case, we are going to start. So we'll get rid of this lovely slide that we have here and make us into the big screen. So hello, everybody. I'm Henry from Cornwall Film Festival. And thank you for joining us today for this interview. Before we start, just a reminder, you can submit your questions via the comments. And a big thank you to Sally and Louise from the CFF team who are helping me keep an eye on things and all those questions. If you don't have a question, but you do think someone is missing out, do feel free to tag them and make sure they check us out later. The reason I keep saying this is the more people who like and engage with these videos, the more people get to see it so we can spread the word. So it's a pleasure now to introduce my guest tonight, an incredibly talented costume designer and stylist, known for creating an observant contemporary costume with a particular eye for detail, fit, texture, and breakdown. Taken directly from her website there. Her credits include 100 Street, starring Idris Elba and Gemma Arterton, Loading, Gap Year, You, Me and the Apocalypse, ITV's Endeavour Series 3, and Series 3 and 4 of The Last Kingdom. Please give a like for Molly Emma Rowe. Hello, Molly.
Hello.
So was that all right? Did I say all the right things?
Yeah, I think that was right. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Good, marvellous. So we've got people saying hello from Wales, people saying hello to Molly. Sometimes you know these people, Molly, who are watching as well. It's quite nice. And then you go back later and go, ooh, hello. Did you enjoy? So Molly, let's just get straight in there and find out a bit about you. Who are you? What are you?
Well, I am a London-based costume designer. I work predominantly in TV and film drama.
How did you become a costume designer? Or get into just get into costume generally, I guess, because you also you've done stylist work, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, so I studied fashion design and technology at university, and I became a stylist after that. As I found I was more kind of interested in putting things together than cutting patterns and making them, although I can do that. And yeah, I worked for quite a long time in the music industry. I styled Adele for 2 years at the beginning of her career. I worked with Alicia Dixon straight after that. And there was quite a big shift in the music industry at that time. And everything was going digital, and there was quite a lot of panic's probably the right word to use within the music industry about what would happen. And I took that opportunity to kind of sit back and I realized that I liked the idea of not working by myself. Actually, it's quite lonely being a stylist when you work. You work on your own and you don't really have a team to support you and to bat ideas off. And I started to contact students at film school, actually, and ask them if I could design costumes for their films that they were making at university. So I did a couple of those, and then I did a short film with an amazing director called Colton Lee, and went on to do his first feature film, actually. So it kind of snowballed from there, and I realized that I very much preferred working with characters and stories and people, and kind of creating this thing with such a huge team of people was really exciting and interesting to me.
So now you're a costume designer. what is a costume designer in the world of television and film? What exactly is it that you do?
So I work with the scripts, directors, actors, producers, production design departments predominantly to create the overall look of whatever it is that we're filming. And of course, you know, most importantly, we help to create the characters visually so that the audience can understand them better.
So so there's a lot of drawing involved. You have to search out the materials you're going to make the costumes from, all very sort of technical and creative elements to it all.
Yeah, I think it really matters, it really depends what kind of project you're doing. So something contemporary is likely to involve more shopping and sourcing things which already exist. Whereas if you're shooting something period, then you're more likely to be looking at hire companies, or making things which you can't find. So having said that, if you can't find something that you want contemporarily, then we would, you know, then you would make that as well, or have that made. So it's always a big combination of hiring, vintage, buying in shops, making, customizing, tailoring, that kind of thing, so that it's right.
So you're a whiz on a sewing machine, because I'm hopeless.
I am. I don't do much sewing. You know, we very luckily have incredibly skilled teams who work creating the garments, and then one of the most important stages, which I think people maybe don't realize, is breakdown, where these incredible artists take clothes and make them look like they're not brand new. So in The Last Kingdom especially, obviously, there's a lot of breakdown work that goes into that to make everything look weathered and battle worn. And you know, we help to tell the story that way as well. Kind of, you know, things happen to clothes as you wear them. If you spill something, if you rip something, if you fall on somewhere, they have an impact on what you wear. So I think it's really important to add to the costumes during the story to help tell those elements of the story as well. So they're kind of constantly evolving throughout the narrative.
And you then end up with, I guess your team is making multiples of each one as they go along, and then you end up with like 10 jackets that look the same but are a different part of the life of the character.
Yeah, exactly. You also kind of end up with we always end up naming them as well. So you're kind of like, where's post blood, pre zombie, you know, they kind of so yeah, we have quite an entertaining naming system for all the repeats as well.
And they have quite a team that you work with. So so the head of the department for the whole costuming team, and then you have people beneath you who will, you know, do all the different jobs?
Yeah, so the costume team is huge in impact, if not in size. So for Endeavour, for example, my team was 5 other people, and on Last Kingdom it was probably more than 60. So you know, the scale of the show has a big impact. And yes, it's, you know, it's a really exciting department to work in, because there's so many kind of different jobs within the department. Buying, where you go out with a brief and source fabrics and costumes, or a supervisor who works very much with the logistics of running the department and the budgets and crew. And you know, workrooms, workshops, dye rooms, breakdown artists, on set standbys who work with continuity and look after the costumes on set. Dressers, I'm definitely leaving people out, which I don't need to, but we have an incredibly long list of of people that work in our department, and they're all so skilled and exciting to work with. It's very vibrant as a department.
It does sound quite nice. And as you say, it's a nice change from that isolationist idea when you're working maybe as a stylist and then becoming part of this really big team that's working to make something, much bigger and for everyone else to enjoy. So that sounds like quite a nice thing about working in costume and as a designer. But go on, what's the worst part about working in costume design?
We work very long hours, very, very long hours. So we start work before to get all the costumes prepped and ready and get everybody dressed, and then we work afterwards as well to undress everybody and get everything ready for the next day. So I think the very long hours are probably the hardest part.
Yeah, that can't be nice, especially if it's like a really dark winter morning and you're going to get there and go, oh, as everyone else turns up.
It's very difficult to drag yourself up at 4 a.m. to kind of drive to the countryside in the dark and then do your first kind of 7 hours of work in the dark as well. So yeah.
I remember that telling once for a film. It's a period piece and we had to be there at something like 5 or 6 in the morning, and people of course have been there already. It's all organised, it's all ready to go, you've got clean everything. Then you come back at the end of the day and it's all just a mess, and that's all out. No fun. You can keep that job. It's lovely, but you can keep that job. Cutest. So we know a lot of people who are watching are very much interested in the work that you've done over the years. So hello to everyone who's watching. Keep those questions coming. So you're getting quite a few questions here, Molly. I'm seeing. So we'll look at those in a bit. But anyway, your projects, you've done a variety of contemporary, modern ones, some period dramas. What's the most challenging one you've had to date?
I'm pretty sure anybody that works in the costume department would certainly agree that everything has its own challenges. I think it's very difficult. I mean, every job you do has new challenges, or every job I do has new challenges, and that's, I always feel that if I feel a little bit scared at the beginning, then that's probably a good thing, because it means I'm doing something new and uncharted and something that's kind of pushing me, which is very good for me. I think probably The Last Kingdom, because it was the first time I'd ever worked on a period production. So that was obviously a very big change for me. And also the scale of that production is as massive as you can imagine from watching even just the trailer. So
We'll dive into the details of Last Kingdom maybe in a little bit as well, and we can go, we'll find out all about it. But before that, you've done obviously a lot of different things, including contemporary work, and we talked a bit about Gap Year, which you did for it's E4, I think it ended up being on at the time, and that was a drama that you had to film across the world with.
Yeah, so me and Lisa Mitten, who was my costume supervisor on that job, went to Southeast Asia for 5 months to film Gap Year, which was an amazing experience. It was very challenging. We had quite a lot of main cast. We were traveling a lot. From country to country. We shot in, we were, I believe, the first drama to shoot in China at the time. So that was quite a big deal with getting our visas and being able to shoot in China. We shot in Nepal, Vietnam, we were in Vietnam for 32 hours or something, I think. So it was very fast paced, and it was very challenging to remember everything. When we moved countries, obviously we couldn't take absolutely everything with us. So it was very difficult to kind of stay on top of the logistics with that. And also the climate is very different. So lots of things that we'd kind of bought and fit and decided on in the UK, we then, got on set on day one and were like, everything looks crazy because everybody's literally soaking wet all the time. So that was kind of, and we sort of fought it for about 2 days, and then I kind of had to go to the producers and say, okay, so creatively, everyone's just going to look very wet. In this series, I think it's probably the best thing to do, because you can't stay on top of it. So, and I think, again, like I was saying before with Breakdown, I think that really added to what the characters were doing and where they were and the climate, and it was believable because it was really happening. So
sounds like it's quite a challenge. Again, you don't really think about the environment having that bigger impact on the costume and the cast, I guess, and everyone you're carrying everything around.
Yeah, there was lots of suitcases to be checked in a lot of the time.
So everyone hated you at the airport, did they? As you just sort of caused a massive backlog and queue, checking in luggage after luggage of clothes.
That's right.
Oh dear. Well, bring it back to the UK a bit more, and sort of moving to a period piece. Obviously, you've worked on Endeavour, which, for those who don't know, is the early years of Detective Morse set in Oxford on ITV. Now, it's not that long ago as a period piece, but I'm guessing it still had its challenges for you.
Yeah, Endeavour, I was really, really, really excited to work on Endeavour. My dad was from Oxford, and I grew up not far from Oxford, so it felt, I'm a lifelong Oxford United supporter. So it was very exciting to kind of film in what feels like my hometown. So that was really cool, and I grew up with Morse as well, so that was the sort of terrifying bit, I suppose. That it was, it's such an incredible series, and it's so highly regarded that was, quite intimidating, and I felt very lucky to be part of it. And yes, it is period, so we did a lot of hiring. We bought a lot online and from vintage places, lots of sourcing. That was really exciting, to create the various characters. But one of the big challenges for us on Endeavour is that, of course, it's essentially a murder mystery. So things happen and we need repeats of things, which is obviously very difficult to find 5 suits from the 1960s that are exactly the same so that we can tell that story. So then we employed lots of making and lots of creative shopping. Me and Lauren would spend a lot of time on the phone sending pictures going, does this look 60s? Does this look 60s? What can we do with this collar? Can we change the buttons? So there was lots of kind of customization around what we could find multiples of to make that work, which was challenging.
And do you have to be quite historically correct with that, or do you get a bit of freedom, or how does it come down to the director or the producer, or do you get to say in that?
I think what I wanted to do with Endeavour, so 1969, there was quite a big change. Obviously, we were heading towards the 70s, where there was a huge change in culture and fashion. But with 69 was very interesting because a lot of very iconic things happened in 1969 that had an effect on fashion and style. But we had to, or I very much wanted to take into consideration the fact that Oxford isn't London and Oxford isn't New York. And also at that period of time, with the older characters, for example, they wouldn't have suddenly been dressing differently. For example, Thursday's character has always worn, suits. He's a man of an age who, at the end of the war, would have had, suits from that time. They wouldn't be updated every 5 minutes like things are nowadays. So in order to create that reality within the Endeavour world, we very much kind of looked back to where was appropriate and then used anything kind of in that time frame. And obviously if there were any characters who were younger or hipper or part of a certain movement, then we could push them into the future a little bit more. So it was a mixture to create reality, I suppose.
It's a great series. It's really nicely done because the costumes do look, amazing with that, and it's it's good. They say murder mystery. People should definitely go check that out. I think it's probably on the ITV hub somewhere. But no, so Molly, I suppose the big one that you've recently worked on, that people kind of knowing your work for and getting a lot of praise for, is The Last Kingdom. How did you get the job?
I did a job called You, Me and the Apocalypse with the head of drama, actually, who at Carnival Films, and she's wonderful, and she suggested that I interview for Last Kingdom, which I did. And the interview process for a costume designer is quite interesting because you get sent a script which you read, and then essentially you go in and pitch your idea of how you would costume whatever it is, whether it's film or TV. Or so with Last Kingdom being a returning series, and the same with Endeavour, actually, and Misfits, I always tried to not actually watch it until after, because I kind of wanted my ideas to feel natural and be what came to me off the page, I suppose, without any kind of other influences. So I definitely went for quite a modern angle, I suppose, when I interviewed for Last Kingdom. And yeah, I was really very, very happy to get series 3, because as I mentioned already, it was my first period piece, so it was a really important job for me, career-wise, and also it's just so exciting. It was just amazing and terrifying and all of those things all at once.
So are you on set then as the mass battles are taking place, without any spoilers, and you're just going, oh, my costumes?
Yeah, I think in series 3, the first battle we did was day 3 or something. And I went to set, which was a field literally in the middle of nowhere. It was this amazing valley. For anyone who's watched series 3, it was the opening battle with Wessex and Mercia and Bloodhair's army. And I actually fell out of a minibus that morning and had possibly broken something in my leg. It was very painful, and I hobbled to set because obviously I had to be there, wanted to be there, needed to be there, and I was really sort of trying to hide my I don't know, nerves, excitement, kind of, it's a really incredible series in that it's the sheer number of people and the sheer scale of the set builds, Winchester, Mercia, Dunholm, Bebbanburg, they're all life-size sets. So you literally come over the brow of a hill and see a palace or ramparts and bridges, and it really is quite an emotional experience.
So you end up then at the end of the day having sort of to collect all the costume back from both, I guess, your talent, so your main cast, and then however many hundreds of extras you've had that day, and go, okay, do we have everything? What you have to clean, what you have to look after? Is it broken?
Yeah, yes, battle week is very challenging. It's sort of 24 hours a day for the costume department during battles, actually. And overnight, we have a swing shift to clean everything, run repairs. That happens all throughout the day as well. There's a separate team who work with the principal actors, and all of pretty much every single principal actor on Last Kingdom has a stunt double as well, so everything's replicated for them. And obviously when anything happens in battle, we need to make sure that it happens also on the stunt double. So there's lots of kind of cross-checking and referencing, and where's so-and-so's cape, and when did that helmet come off, and when did that get broken? And yeah, it's a very big production, and it takes a really incredibly huge, cohesive, amazing team to make it work. And I definitely have that. So,
well, big praise for the team there. So hopefully some of them are watching, or they're going to see this recording and go, "Yes, Molly's praising us all."
They're fantastic. They blow me away every day, actually.
Well, also you worked with Andy, who we interviewed a few weeks ago, as he was directing some of the episodes that you were on. So it's quite a nice sort of. It's amazing the world all comes together. So we'll move on, because we're coming towards the questions in a minute. So if you've got any questions out there, do feel free to put them in the comments. Sally is sending them to me, and I have them lined up, ready to go. And don't forget to give us a like and do share. But before we do, we also got a lot of students watching who are thinking that they might want to work in costume in TV or film. Do you have any sort of general advice you might want to give people who are looking to get into it at any sort of stage in their career, or maybe they do costume or clothing now and want to diversify?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really amazing courses out there, actually, for costume, and also, I did fashion design myself, and although I then didn't use many of those skills for a really long time, now that I'm a designer, of course, being able to construct clothes, knowing how things are made and what certain bits are called, and being able to kind of communicate that has been invaluable to me. And I think there's no right or wrong way to get into the industry. It's a very difficult industry, but it's very, it's really exciting. And I think screen skills is a really incredible apprenticeship way to kind of become a trainee and learn different parts of the industry as well, because there's like I mentioned previously, there's so many jobs between in every department, and it might be that you think you'd like to do this, but actually that's really exciting, and that kind of plays to my strengths. And I think it's really cool to kind of immerse yourself and try and get onto a set for work experience, or in a trainee program, and kind of really learn how the department works and what you could do and what excites you. And I think that's probably the best way. And I think a lot of people get in touch on social media these days. I think that's a really positive way to kind of reach out to people.
Yeah, we'll not care. Well, don't worry. We'll give out your Instagram handle later as we come to the end, and everyone will follow you and be liking everything and all the messages. It'd be lovely. So there's lovely people here saying hello to you in the chat here. So we'll send that to Molly later as well. There's a lady actually remembers working with you, I think, in the makeup department.
Oh,
as well. So they say a small world. So now, Molly, we'll move on to some questions if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so what first one we have is, what era would you like to design costumes for that you haven't yet?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's loads, actually. I would really, really, really love to do early 30s, actually. It's kind of
sort of Peaky Blinder-esque era, or
yeah, I think I've got a real, that kind of, the 20s was a big kind of period of time for women's clothing to change, and I think by the 30s it had really sort of taken hold on a much bigger scale. Like I was saying with Endeavour, it doesn't kind of happen everywhere straight away. So I think for me, I find the 30s very interesting in that kind of women started to experiment and try different things, and I think it created a really incredible period of time for clothing.
So if any producers are watching with a show in that era, do feel free to get in touch with Molly. She's more than willing to work on that one by the sounds of it. We've got people from LA and Canada and Falmouth and Cornwall watching as well, and Wales. So they're all over the place today. Bit of a fun one, I suppose. Has anyone ever refused to wear something?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Can we ask who?
No.
No? Oh.
But yeah, that's quite a common thing, actually. Yes, being a costume designer is a little bit psychologist as well, and kind of working out how to create the best character, I suppose. And what I would definitely say is that if somebody doesn't want to wear something, then there's a reason why. And if that reason is because it makes them feel unconfident, then that is going to come across on screen. And so, it's our job to kind of work with the actor, work out what, if there is an issue, what is it? Can we work around it? Because obviously you don't want somebody on screen conscious about what they're wearing. It should be, blended into their character. So yes.
No, definitely. I suppose part of that as well links into how much freedom you get and production give you, or do you have to go and get things signed off, I suppose, as well?
Yeah, it's really yes, you do. That there's a certain amount of freedom and a lot of discussion. So you kind of work out what you really want to fight for and what you don't.
So, do you prefer then a strict line from the direct and production team, or do you like to have that freedom to go to them with your ideas?
Yeah, everything's a conversation, really. So when an actor is cast, then we would do a first fitting, take photos and send them to the director and producers and start the discussion that way. So it's very collaborative across everything, and I think that's really important. And on a continuing TV drama, for example, the producer is looking at the entire series as a whole, so their voice is very important because they know what's coming up. They might know script things that you don't, and the director of that block doesn't know. So it's very organic and it's very collaborative.
Much more that bigger picture, I think, for lots of things.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Okay, so there were all several questions. I just looped them all together. Let's keep the flow going. What is the film you wish you had done the costumes for?
There's lots of them.
Come on, pick one. Pick one.
Pick one.
Maybe two, but one really.
Two. Well, I guess the costumes. I recently watched Heartburn, Nora Ephron's Heartburn, which is quite an old film, and the costumes are so fantastic. It's a very, very young Meryl Streep and a very, very young Jack Nicholson, and everything just looks amazing. So I can, kind of wish that had been me. And more recently, I think Little Women, I was absolutely blown away by the costumes in the film. I think they were so beautiful and so wonderfully done. So I'm answering that question not in that I wish I'd done it because they would have been different. I mean, I wish I had done it because they're so fantastic.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No, definitely does. I mean, it's great to see and appreciate other work on screen, whether that's costume, cinematography, direction, anything like that. Ooh. So, do you think there's a challenge switching between features and series?
Sorry, I dropped out for a second.
Okay. Do you think there's there are different challenges between feature films and TV series?
Yeah, I think the main challenge for us is on a feature film. When you start, you have the whole story, so you can you know what's happening to everybody. You can budget a lot more accurately. You have a picture of exactly what you have to do. Whereas on a TV series, usually it's chopped up into blocks. So each block would film a certain amount of episodes. So on Last Kingdom, for example, we do 5 blocks of 2 episodes. I think that's right. So you're only working with the 2 scripts that you're working with until the next block come in. So it's very difficult to know exactly what's going to happen in all 10 episodes. So it makes budgeting very challenging. But also, you know, is somebody wearing something that's going to be problematic in 2 episodes' time? And so we're constantly kind of reviewing what costumes need to do and how they need to move, and do they need to cover a harness suddenly, and what are the challenges that way. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between the 2.
No, that makes sense. Definitely, it's like sort of that unknown, isn't it? Just on over the horizon. Well, linking into that then, without naming any names, you know where this is going. Have you got any embarrassing costume moments you can share? Like maybe something, maybe falling off something.
I don't know if I do. I mean, I probably do. I can't think of any. I guess I try and block them out when they happen. I can't think of anything.
Or maybe as we go through, maybe have a think and see.
Yeah, I'll have a think.
That's yeah, okay, that's fine. So this was one from Sophie Cox, who's worked with you as a makeup artist, I believe. She was asking. Oh, there you go. So, which department do you work with closest? Is it the makeup department, or props, or directorial team? Who?
It's kind of, we work with a lot of departments. I mean, creatively, the production designer and makeup very much. You know, us in the makeup department create the character together, so that has to be very collaborative. And then our characters are in the production designer's world, so that's very important. Of course, how the DP is going to light something, colors, textures, what camera's being used, that's all very important. We work with the sound department, of course. When people are radio mics, we have to work with them about where that can go. And obviously it's always hidden in costume. Who else? Stunts, special effects, VFX. It's very, yeah, we work with probably all of the departments, actually.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Basically, it's great to see that how collaborative it is. So within the department, there's everyone working together, and then there's a bigger production. Everyone is also, working together for that same aim, but taking into account different things. So a very specific question for you now.
Okay.
What's the most difficult fabric to work with?
Well, it depends what you're trying to make it do, I suppose. On Last Kingdom, I kind of have a rule, I suppose, which is my own rule, which is if the design is kind of modern, then the fabric has to be natural. And if the fabric is modern, then the design should be more from the period, I suppose. So when you're sort of trying to make leather do something that it shouldn't, that can be quite difficult. But it really depends what you're kind of applying it to. So I don't know though, personally light fabric, super lightweight fabrics are really, really difficult to work with, actually, because they're very unforgiving.
Well, there you go.
The chiffon, I suppose, is my answer.
There you go. I don't have much experience with it, so I can't possibly comment, really. But I'm sure other people watching do have experience. So do let us know what you think the most challenging fabric is. Quite interesting to know, actually, what everyone thinks it is. But we are coming towards the end now, Molly. So couple more questions for you, though. How long does it take to design a costume?
Depends how long you have. Sometimes not very long at all. It really depends quite often on casting, actually. So sometimes you don't know who the actor is until the day before, on occasion, which is obviously incredibly challenging. I remember actually on The Informer, we had an actor who is now a very good friend of mine, who is very, very tall, and he was cast the day before. So we had to kind of, you know, go to specialist shops to buy his costume. It wasn't just a case of, you know, just going to the high street to kind of pick anything up. So, you know, even something like that can be a massive challenge when casting is late. And obviously on something like Last Kingdom, if you're getting the actor the day before, then you kind of have to work with something that we already have, and then, you know, tailor it to fit. Maybe we have time to dye it, maybe we have time to put a trim on to make it different. But luckily we usually get a nice amount of time to kind of really make things specifically for those characters, which is fab.
That's quite nice. I guess again, all depends on the timeline and the budget and the size of the project.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today on our live interview. So thank you everyone for joining us. But one final question. What's the first thing you're going to do after lockdown?
What's the first thing I'm going to do? I mean, after seeing my mum, I'd really like to put some heels on and go and drink a cocktail. So, or have a coffee, anything, just something in heels. This is the first time I've worn makeup since March, so.
Well, thank you very much for doing so. That's very kind of you. Didn't have to, you know. I'm not here with mine. Couldn't put mine on today. I'm sorry. But Molly, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. We do have one other announcement, so do not run away just yet. But Molly is going to be doing a masterclass with us in the near future. So we'll be putting the link up for that shortly. I'm not quite sure what we're going to call it yet. We're calling it Molly's Masterclass. Masterclass with Molly. I'm not sure which way we're going, but so we'll be talking all about sort of costume design and the processes that they go through. So we'll put that up later. And of course, I did promise them your Instagram username. Now I can do this, or you can do this.
You can do this.
I can do this. Okay. So if you are interested, you can go follow Molly over on Instagram at Molly Emma Rowe, all one word in lowercase. So hopefully they're all going to find you. We'll also post the link in the comments here as well, for anyone who wants to find as well. So Molly, once again, thank you very much from Cornwall Film Festival. Thank you all for watching. And if you are watching the recording, we do hope you enjoyed, and do come back, because next week we are joined by Tim Hands, Emmy Award-winning ADR supervisor from things such as Les Mis, Game of Thrones, and many others. So I'll put some more information about that too. So thank you all, stay safe, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.